Welcome back to Our Community. Susie Thomas visiting with Katie Taylor from Film School Africa. Okay, so what do you do with this? You have this vision about a film to make. You meet this young man who says some life-changing and challenging things to you. What do you do with that, Katie?
Yeah, well, I went back and honestly continued working on films and was really just continuing to think about and process what it was. I continued to connect with students from Kaimundi who are actually coming out and touring the USA and performing, and started to feel like this sort of calling of, what if you just went for 6 months? What if you just took a couple of cameras and a couple of laptops for 6 months to Kaimundi and just taught a couple of kids how to shoot short films? And then I was immediately hit with, what good is film going to do in a township community like this? What good is film? I mean, film, it's so first world, really just how ridiculous to think that people living in shacks who can barely afford, food to put on the table or having trouble getting their kids through school. What good is film going to do in a place like that? And
probably someone once said that in Bollywood also.
I'm sure. I'm sure. And really was sort of confronted with this moment that Moses had, where you kind of send somebody else, someone else is more qualified, and really was reminded by what God said to Moses, which was, what do you have in your hand? And of course, he didn't know at the time that God was going to use that staff to part the seas. And I kind of thought, well, the only thing I have in my hand is really a love for people and film.
And a camera here.
Yeah, exactly. And so I really just was, okay, well, I'm willing to go. Yeah. Let's just see what happens.
But there's a big difference, Katie, between somebody taking a 2-week missions trip and somebody saying, okay, let's make this a 6-month deal. That's more of a commitment. Where do you live? How do you live? How do you eat? And then this great vision of sharing what you know, which is considerable, to all the young people that have this dream as well. How cool that they have that dream. They're living in that abject poverty, and they have this dream to tell stories through film.
Yeah.
How do you get from point A to point B? How did you?
Very carefully. It was one of those things where that when you have a job that sort of starts every 3 months, it feels a little easier to say, okay, at the end of this project, I'm going to go, and then I'll just pray that there's work when I come back. So I think that was sort of the thought process for the 6 months. I knew that there was an organization on the other side that I could connect with and work with in Kaimundi. And really, when I got into Kaimundi, I moved into the community. I moved into the township community, which most people would not have done. But there was an older woman who had a room, and I was going to just pay her a little bit of money, and I moved right in there to the township community, and was really glad that I did, because it gave me a different perspective of what it looked like to live inside the township community at the time. And really just started working with students. It was far more basic than than I thought it would be. Most of the students when I started had never held a camera, let alone a video camera. So it was very basic at the start. But one of the things that I learned along the way was that students were actually processing trauma over the course of making a film. And so that was an element that I never anticipated. I knew that there was film work in South Africa. I knew that that was possible, but I had no idea that there was going to be a healing component to just going through the course. So, maybe one out of 10 students is probably equipped to go on and continue to study in film or in photography, whereas the other 9 are really there to connect with you. They're there to connect with a sense of family within the class. They're there for something different. And so that processing of trauma, where they are then directing a film about a moment in their lives that's very intense, We've had victims of of rape. We've had who literally go into a situation and are put in a position of power where they were once powerless. And that process was really, really amazing in terms of processing, because the students are not encouraged to speak about their feelings. The youth are not necessarily asked how they feel. And so being able to process through a lot of that with the camera rolling was something that I didn't see God doing.
So would you kind of say in a way that you're doing art therapy with these young people?
Absolutely.
Using film?
Yeah, absolutely.
Where would they have first seen a film? How were they ever introduced to it?
They have televisions. They have televisions. They don't necessarily go to the cinema. And so oftentimes we'll take students and it'll be their first time at a movie theater. But there's lots of access to movies on TV. One of the things that, when we get students into the college level program, which is the live-in program that we have now, is really helping them understand, sort of the higher art of things, so that it's not just Adam Sandler films, and the Wayans brothers, so we have those moments too. But
they have that window to the world, but seeing the rest of the world and then seeing the reality they live in has got to be a shock.
Yeah. Well, part of what's so beautiful about it is helping students understand the beauty of their own stories, and helping them understand that the thing that feels normal to them or feels commonplace to them, most people in the world don't live with and don't understand. And so trying to, help take that apart a little bit of, it might be normal for children to sleep on the floor and have rats running over them. But that's not an experience that a lot of the world has. No. And so when you tell that story, whatever that looks like, you are speaking to people who perhaps have not heard that before or who have not experienced that before.
So we take that 6 months and it turns into, how long have you been there now?
Almost 10 years.
And with a school. Yeah. Is it fair to say you are the founder of Film School Africa?
Yeah. So it was really an amazing thing because that first class really changed my world. That first group of students in that first 6 months really just helped me to see what was possible, and really just helped burst open my heart to, I just don't know how to ever go back to the Hollywood system and the Hollywood way of doing things where I just felt like not all of my gifts and talents were being utilized. That's kind of the other part is, I was really good at my job, but there's a lot of connector of people that I was not really getting to use very often.
Yeah.
And so for me, that 6 months really helped to kind of shift my thought process. So I went back to Hollywood for about a year and a half, worked on a few more movies, got kind of squared away with debt and the equipment that I had left in Kayamandi with a couple of students there, and then moved back in 2010 and officially started a 501c3. So that now, all donations can be tax deductible, and we've got a board of directors, and, really just start things moving in a way that's proper.
I know somebody's hearing that right now and saying, my gosh, this is something I want to get behind. So so that we don't leave them hanging there.
Yeah.
What's the website and how can people donate and participate?
Yeah, filmschoolafrica.org. So filmschoolafrica.org is the website. And it's real easy to give. You can give online. We have you can even find our local address for sending a check. There it's Canton, Ohio is on the website. But yeah, it's really a unique ministry to give to, especially if the arts is something you're passionate about. We do take used equipment, but we try to make sure it's gently used equipment, Apple computers and cameras and things like that. But even supporting us on a monthly basis is really huge, because it allows us to plan for what we need. It allows us to know how many students we can accept into the program, how many staff we can bring on to help with those students. So those are all really, really key ways to help.
What would be some goals for the next couple of years? Maybe some projects you're working on?
Yeah, we actually just bought a building that
awesome.
we're really excited about. We're really excited about because that's going to house our college level program. So out of the experience in 2008, we have launched now 2 community programs, so one in Kayamandi and one in Strand. And then we recognized the need was really to get students out of these communities for a time so that they can stop worrying about the alcoholic parents that they're dealing with, the gang members on the streets, the violence that surrounds them is really intense. And so we were finding that it's really difficult to go in an afternoon. You kind of feel like it's always one step forward and 2 steps back. And so what we realized was if we can get the students away for a time, give them training for 2 to 3 years and have them live on a campus with us, then we could actually equip them in a more holistic way so that we're changing their lives with the love of Christ, so that they're learning more about what it looks like to be a Christian, and so that they're also learning film at the same time.
It's an amazing, unique ministry. And what a way locally we can participate basically in African missions halfway around the world.
Incredible, right?
And through this, it's just an amazing medium. Thinking about over the last 10 years, some of those first students, what are they doing now?
Yeah, we've got lots of students who have gone on to different university level programs. Some are working in internship programs that have recently graduated. Some have gone on to work on morning talk shows and have done some, Black Sails and, which is a TV series that comes out of Stars in the USA channel. And so lots of different shows and films that the students have gone in to work on as assistants on set and that kind of thing. So a few professional photographers who have who've gone through a program and graduated from an academy there. So just lots of making contacts and connections for the students into larger programs that then can really help them be successful in life. So some real good success stories and a few that are local as well, but graduating from Malone and all of that good stuff.
Very cool. So, and being salt and light as you prepare them to be salt and light using this medium to get that great influence out in the world.
Yeah, and
Katie
to change
Taylor,
future generations as well. I mean, really, you just think about the trickle down of what it looks like to educate one child is really powerful because African students give back to their parents, and so you really when you can educate a child, you really are sustaining the entire family in a real powerful
and that
way.
there's another way to live.
Yeah.
There's another way. There's a better way.
There is another way. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Katie Taylor, thank you so much. Be sure to go to filmschoolafrica.org, check it out, support it. Katie Taylor, thanks for what you're doing in our global community.
Thank you.